So let's get right into it. When you think about Jesus Christ and Gautama Buddha, it's easy to see them as, these two incredibly wise, compassionate teachers who are basically on the same team. There's even a really funny manga called Saint Young Men where they're just roommates chilling in Tokyo. And that kind of captures how a lot of us see them. Pretty similar, right? But are they really? To really get to the heart of the difference, we have to dig a little deeper than just comparing their teachings. We've got to ask a more fundamental question. What was the core problem of being human that each of them came to solve? Because you see, the problem they identified, that shapes absolutely everything else. All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with how they each diagnosed what's wrong with the world. Then we'll look at where the fix comes from. We'll compare what their actual jobs were, their roles. We'll even untangle a really interesting but kind of confusing idea in Buddhism, and we'll wrap it all up with Buddha's powerful final words. First things first, the diagnosis. What is our fundamental issue as human beings? Well, the answers from Christianity and Buddhism are about as different as you can get. So check this out. It's all about the direction of the problem. For Christianity, the main issue is sin, and that is a vertical problem. It's a broken relationship between us down here and a creator God up there. We messed up, we disobeyed. Buddhism, though, sees the problem as completely internal. It's about karma and what's called Bano, all our cravings, our desires, our attachments. This has nothing to do with a God. It's about us being stuck in a loop that we created ourselves. And this image here really gets at the Buddhist idea. Our suffering comes from these internal states, things like greed, hatred, and ignorance. They call them the three poisons. Think about it. These aren't sins you commit against some being in the sky. They're more like glitches in our own minds that mess up how we see reality and keep us trapped on this treadmill of suffering and rebirth. Okay, so we've got two totally different problems, right? A broken relationship with God on one hand, and an internal cycle of suffering on the other. It just makes sense then that the solutions are going to be completely different too. So where does the help come from? In the Christian story, the solution has to come from the outside. The idea is that we are sinful and we just can't fix this mess by ourselves. So God, the one who was wronged, has to be the one to fix it. He sends his son, Jesus, and his sacrifice on the cross is this huge divine act that basically pays off our spiritual debt. Salvation is a gift from God. This whole idea is what's known as other power, or Toriki in Japanese. The power to save you is completely outside of you. God is the one doing all the work, and we are just the recipients of that grace. You literally can't earn it, you just have to accept it. Now, let's flip that coin over and look at the Buddhist path. Since the problem is internal, it's caused by our own minds, the solution has to be internal too. Buddha didn't show up to pay off a debt. He was a human being who, through a whole lot of work, figured out why we suffer and, more importantly, how to stop it. And then he just taught other people how to do it for themselves. And this, as you might guess, is called self-power, or jiriki. In the original Buddhist teachings, your liberation is up to you. You have to achieve it through your own efforts. Nobody, not even the Buddha himself, can do the work for you. It is 100% an inside job. And that brings us right to the roles of these two central figures. I mean, the very titles we give them tell you everything you need to know about their function. Okay, this is the absolute key. Jesus is called the Savior. He is the one who does the saving. He is the agent of salvation. Buddha, on the other hand, is called the Awakened One. He didn't save anybody. He just woke up. He's the guide. He's the one who shows you the map so that you can wake up too. It's like he's the doctor who diagnoses the problem and writes the prescription, but you're the one who has to take the medicine. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This quote from the Buddhist scriptures makes it crystal clear. The Buddhas, the ones who've already made the journey, they can only point you in the right direction. The actual walking, well, that's all on you. Now, this is where things get really interesting, because if you've been around Buddhism a bit, especially in places like Japan, you might be thinking, hold on a second, what about Pure Land Buddhism? And you know what? That is a fantastic question. So yeah, one of the biggest schools of Buddhism is called Pure Land Buddhism, and its main practice is relying on the other power of a Buddha named Amida. The whole idea is that by having faith in him, you can be reborn in his Pure Land, which is like a perfect place to finally reach enlightenment. And you're right, on the surface, that sounds an awful lot like relying on God's grace, doesn't it? But, and this is a huge but, the fundamental setup is totally different. Amida Buddha is not a creator god.
The story goes that he was once a human prince who practiced for eons as a bodhisattva, and he used all the good karma he built up to create this Pure Land as a kind of tool to help the rest of us. His power isn't a pardon for a sin against Hin, it's more like a superhighway he built so that we could get to our destination of enlightenment more easily.
Which, when you trace it all back, brings us to the Buddha's incredibly profound final message, a message of radical self-reliance.
These are said to be some of the very last words the Buddha ever spoke. Just think about that for a second. After decades of teaching and guiding thousands of followers, his final piece of advice wasn't to worship him or pray to him. It was to turn inward, to become your own light, your own safe harbor.
And that right there is the core of the self-power path. At the end of the day, no one else can walk this path for you. No one can purify your mind for you. You are your own master. It's a massive responsibility for sure, but it's also incredibly empowering. The key to your own freedom has been in your hands the entire time.
So, when you boil it all down, the difference really comes down to this simple question. Is the spiritual life about waiting for an external power to save you, to give you a gift from above? Or is it about walking a path, step by step, using your own effort to achieve your own freedom from within? Two of history's most profound figures, and two completely different answers to what it means to be human.